from an extremely rare type of muscular dystrophy, and I have to take medication or I'll die. Right now I weigh less than 80 pounds. I have all my life. I have support of 5 of my doctors saying that I am living proof that medical marijuana works. I am completely against legalizing it for everyone, but there is medical purposes for it.
And you have synthetic marijuana that's available and other pain medications.
It makes me sick. I have tried it and it makes me throw up. I have tried all the medications there are and all the forms that come in, appetite stimulators or steroids. I have muscular dystrophy. That's completely against my DNA.
I'm sorry to hear that.
My question for you is, will you arrest me and my doctors if I get medical marijuana prescribed?
I'm not in favor of medical marijuana being
So will
legal
you
in the
have
country.
me arrested?
Hi. How are you?
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Will you please answer my question?
Well, you have. Wait, are you not going to answer his question, Governor?
I think I have. I'm not in
No,
favor
he
of
asked you if you were going to
legalizing
arrest.
marijuana.
He asked if you were going to arrest patients like him, Governor. You're going to just ignore a person in a wheelchair?
Oh, I spoke with him.
I know, but he didn't answer his question.
The clip that I just showed you is one of many different videos that show how uncomfortable Mitt Romney is about talking about legalizing even marijuana for medical purposes. He doesn't like it. That just happened. He got flustered, told a muscular dystrophy patient that he's not in favor of the medication that helps that guy, and basically inferred that he would arrest him and his doctors and anyone else that tried to have pot going around. There's plenty of other examples of Mitt getting flustered at such a question like this.
Not long ago, and I asked you if you would have me arrested for using medical marijuana to ease my pain and suffering. Instead of giving me an answer, you turned your back to me and walked away. It's something that CNN caught all over their cameras. Will you please give me an yes or no answer?
I don't do any arresting. In my view, marijuana should not be made legal, either for medicinal purposes or recreational purposes. It's the opening way to drug use for many, many people in our country, and I'm opposed to medical marijuana.
What about
Next
steroids?
question. Yes, sir.
Hi, yes, could you, Governor, can you speak a little bit?
Ouch.
So there you have Mitt completely freaking out, that the same guy that he tried to ignore the first time, but he did give the same answer. He's at least consistent there. He's saying that he's not in favor of it, period. His excuse this time was that it was a gateway drug. Now, that doesn't really explain away why alcohol is legal, or cigarettes, or many of the extreme painkillers that we have that Romney in that previous video that we watched suggested that the guy take. That we have synthetic pot. Well, isn't synthetic pot just as big of a gateway drug as regular pot would be? Isn't synthetic heroin just as big of a gateway drug as, or just as really as bad for you as heroin itself? You're not really solving any problems, especially with the gateway drug argument with pot, if you're offering synthetics and other legalized forms that will get kids fucked up. That's a gateway. I know the first thing I did was not smoke pot. The first thing I did was drink alcohol, and that was easy enough for me to do, and I ended up smoking pot, but I've never shot up. I've never done heroin. I'm not a meth addict. So you're preaching to people who know you're full of shit, Mitt Romney.
So medical marijuana is legal in Colorado. One of our viewers, Bill Ferguson, asked, should marijuana be legalized for medical use?
Aren't there issues of significance that you'd like to talk about?
This is a significant issue in Colorado.
The economy, the growth of jobs, the need to put people back to work, the challenges of Iran. We've got enormous issues that we face. But you want to talk? Go ahead. Do you want to talk about medical? I think marijuana should not be legal in this country. I believe it's a gateway drug to other drug violations. The use of illegal drugs in this country is leading to terrible consequences in places like Mexico and actually in our own country.
Okay.
I oppose legalization of marijuana. I oppose legalization of other kinds of drugs. But I can tell you that I have a plan to get this economy going.
Mitt is incredibly good at going back to this argument over and over and over again without giving any supporting evidence. I guess if you're a presidential candidate and you're a smug-looking Mormon fuck, you really don't need to offer up any evidence or studies that support your claims. You just get to blurt it right the fuck out there, and everyone just takes it at face value. This motherfucker wants to talk about the economy, but his state, Massachusetts, that he was governor of, had some of the worst jobs growth in the country. They were ranked like 47th or some shit out of 50. That's not so good. You really want to talk about that? I think maybe you want to talk about your retarded pot arguments, because they probably come out making you look better, or at least not as bad.
My name is Jonathan Perry. I'm a senior psychology major at Franklin Pierce University. Currently, doctors can prescribe cocaine, amphetamine, and opiates. And in fact, right now, the leading prescribed painkillers, which are Oxycontin and Vicodin, have resulted in thousands of American deaths. Since 1995, there have been 12 states that have passed legislation allowing doctors to recommend that patients be able to use medical marijuana, which has killed no one, and the Government Accountability Office has reported that in the 12 states, there's neither been an increase in teen use or in abuse. Recently, you told a sick Doberman that you would continue the federal raids on the patients and doctors in those states.
No, I didn't.
Well,
no,
so you would not.
For those who are not familiar, this is a question in each one of our town meetings, but go ahead and ask the question and I'll give you the same answer.
My question for you is, how can you justify your position that we should continue the raids on federal patients and doctors, and have you received any contributions from pharmaceutical companies?
No, it's against the law to receive contributions from corporations, number one. Number two, I am not in favor of having marijuana become legalized in this country for medicinal purposes or otherwise. And what's interesting is that it's a wonderful process we have. At each one of our town meetings, there's someone here that represents legalizing marijuana for medicinal purposes. And you keep asking the question, I keep giving the same answer. I'm not sure what the purpose is, but I have the same position this week I had last week when you asked the question, and that is, I would not legalize marijuana for medicinal purposes, and the reasons are straightforward. As I talk to people in my state and at the federal government level about marijuana and its role in society, they are convinced that the entryway into a drug culture for our young people is marijuana. That marijuana is the starter drug, and that the idea of medical marijuana is designed to help get marijuana out in the public marketplace and ultimately lead to legalization of marijuana overall. And in my view, that's the wrong way to go. And I know other people have differing views. And if you'd like to get somebody who's in favor of marijuana, I know there is some on the Democratic side of the aisle that'll be happy to get in your campaign. But I'm opposed to it. And if you elect me president, you're not going to see legalized marijuana. I'm going to fight it tooth and nail.
I wonder if Mitt knows that it was Ron Paul that was running on the Republican ticket that was most in favor of legalizing marijuana all around. But Mitt Romney is wrong about pretty much every fucking thing. He keeps saying it's a gateway drug. It's the gateway drug. And that the medical marijuana thing is just a ruse to, legalize marijuana for everybody as a recreational drug. Well, that's alcohol, you fucking idiot. If you really believe that, you would be for redoing prohibition, making alcohol illegal again. But I don't hear you saying anything about that. So how much do you really care? You obviously don't really care. And he's like, well, when I talk to people in the government and the state, you don't talk to anyone about this. You've come up with your fucking opinions and you're just going to stick to it. You don't want to hear anyone else's story, as proven by showing a guy in a wheelchair with muscular dystrophy talking to you about how medical marijuana helps him so much, and you don't care. In fact, you ignore him. You turn your fucking back on him. Fuck you. America should turn their back on you, you Mormon sack of shit. And I only bring up Mormonism because if you're dumb enough to believe in Joseph Smith and his magic fucking hat, you might just be dumb enough not to want to hear the arguments for why medical marijuana, at the very least, should be legal, if not marijuana be legalized in full. Coctopus out. Some of the laws that we have here in America are fucking retarded when it comes to marijuana. I live in Florida where we have mandatory minimum sentencing for, if you have X amount of pot or X amount of plants. They start off at 3 years mandatory. If you get caught with pot here in Florida, if you're walking down the street with like a roach in your pocket and they catch you, you lose your license for 2 years. Yeah, you get to pay the court like $500 to $1,000, and then you get to pay the DMV like another $1,000 to $2,000. It ends up costing almost as much as a fucking DUI. In Florida, if you kill someone with your car, you lose your license for 6 months. If you get caught with a roach in your pocket while you're walking down the sidewalk, you lose your license for 2 years. I mean, this is Florida, the state where Casey Anthony got off scot-free, and where George Zimmerman almost got away without being charged for killing Trayvon Martin, and where we just put a woman in jail for 20 years because she shot a warning shot into the ceiling because her husband was attacking her and she was in fear of her life. She just got 20 years. I mean, there's details to the story, but the gist is that's what happened, and she got 20 fucking years for it. So, is Florida definitely the dick of the United States of America? Alright, and just a quick note, I did the voices for DPR Jones and Thunderfoot in a recent animation by LiveLife8072, so I will include a link in the fucking crotch bar. So check that out, it's pretty entertaining. It's of the Magic Sandwich Show with Eric Hovind and Kai Ten Brudenkate, or Cy Ten Brudenkate, or whatever the fuck his name is. Alright, so check that shit out. Peace.